I want to go over something real briefly because it really doesn't matter how much you study these things. It's really ancient history, and sometimes it's good to read a couple things here and there. But just using my plain common sense, it is impossible that the Great Pyramid of Giza was built by the ancient Egyptians or any other people, far as I know. That's a It's a flat out fact, and I'm going to go through a couple of things on this because I don't like getting in any kind of crazy theories, but I just go by hard, cold reality, and that's it. Back in the ancient times, they had the wonders of the world, right? 7 wonders of the world. The only one really around today that's pretty much intact is the Great Pyramid of Giza. You had the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. They relocated Babylon. They know where it is, but they don't know where the gardens are. Figuring that it's decayed, it's gone. The statue of Zeus at Olympia was destroyed by fire in the 5th century A.D. The Temple of Artemis was destroyed in 262 by the Goths. The Mausoleum was destroyed by a series of earthquakes. The Colossus at Rhodes, which was actually a statue bigger than the Statue of Liberty, except it was on a smaller pedestal, was destroyed by an earthquake in 226 BC. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was destroyed by earthquakes. So the only great wonder of the world left was the Great Pyramid of Giza. But if you go back in ancient history, and there's more current history like the Roman history and the Greek history, and a lot of that is very well documented, and there's a lot of things you can get out of archaeological surveys that you can prove things left and right. A lot of other things are difficult to prove. I want to actually go into something here. This is in New Jersey. Actually, it's on Long Beach Island, located about 50 miles north of Atlantic City. And you can get this right off the web. And I don't know if they still have this where you can go Google and get the actual thing out there. But it goes straight to Google Earth. And you could pick up today what the impressions of something that was possibly, well, in this case, I think it was pretty much a slam dunk. This was ancient canals, and this was on Long Beach Island, Loveladies Island, and you could see these canals here. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is where the current modern-day contractor just redredged the canals that were already there. And you can see from the aerial, there's 3 more canals. Very precise, and you really can't argue with the fact that that's a man-made structure, but it predates any time going back many centuries of any known written history about roots regarded in America. And this is all over the United States. So some of these things, I don't know what that means or not. This is something else. This was from copper mines in Michigan, talking about a world trade back in 3000 BC. The chief ingredient for bronze is copper. Just go real fast. The era around 3000 BC saw more than 500,000 tons of copper being mined in the so-called Upper Peninsula, Michigan, in the state of Michigan. And that's where the historical record shows the Bronze Age came about. There might have been a lot of international trade going across the Atlantic 3,000 years ago. Who knows? It's a possibility. It may be when they're taking one grain of fact and exaggerating it too. But the one thing I want to get at is Great Pyramid of Giza. This is a slam dunk. I don't know who the hell built this thing, but we know it's there, and we know what it's made of, and we know the proportions. And anybody can go there and verify all these facts. So, I heard a lot of things about wacky pyramid people out there that own the earth, and they do everything by the numbers and numerology. And there's a hell of a lot of wacky rumors out there. But I think as far as this Great Pyramid being made by people, considering that I was in construction, even though I was an accountant in construction, I got enough familiarity with this stuff. There's no way in hell was this thing made by people. They can't even build this thing today. It's impossible. And just some of the facts on it, real fast, because there's a lot of garbage you can dig out on this for gazillion hours, and I don't really care about it that much. Um, I mean, I do. It's interesting up to a point. That's why I say the pyramid is estimated to have 2,300,000 stone blocks, weighing from 2 to 30 tons. Some weigh as much as 70 tons, and some of these really big blocks are up like several hundred feet high. There's absolutely nothing available even today that can lift some of these stones. That's so. I mean, it's a given it wasn't built by Egyptians, so you can go figure what the heck it was built by. And I know there's a lot of references in various cultures about sun gods and the giants that roam the earth and all this kind of garbage. But hey, I could say it's a slam dunk. Regular people didn't build this thing, especially primitive people. A couple other things too, talking about the highly polished surface. And I don't think they say it. I'm going to post a link on this, but I'm just going to comment a couple things. Like, they took all the casing stones. That's what built Cairo, Egypt. They took the casing stones off the Great Pyramid. And so that's why they're missing. It's like they didn't fall apart. This is at the time all were highly polished, been flat to an accuracy of a hundredth of an inch. And they're about 100 inches thick and weigh 15 tons each. So, a bunch of people rolling things around on the logs. There's no way in hell this was done by people. The mortar used is of an unknown origin. It's been analyzed and its chemical composition is unknown, but it can't be reproduced. It's stronger than the stone. It's still holding up today. And another thing is, it's aligned true north. The Great Pyramid is the most accurately aligned structure in existence, and faces true north. Only a fraction of the degree of error. Okay, talking about, I guess it's roughly 2% degree of an error of 1 degree, that is. They go on to say that there's 4 faces of the pyramid are slightly concave, which makes it like an 8-sided pyramid. And you can only see this concave from the air. You really can't see it from the ground. And it was actually, not saying it in this article, but it was like somebody was flying over it in World War II. And they noticed it, like if the light was hitting it a certain way, there was this concave on each of the 4 sides. Also talking about the granite coffer in the king's chamber is too big to fit through the passages. And also it was too heavy, So, and the other thing is, microscopic analysis of the coffer reveals that it was made with a fixed point drill and with a drilling force of 2 tons. Another thing. So, like, when people are telling you that they built this thing by rolling stones around on logs, let me put it to you this way. You see, this is something I kind of bring this up because I'm not conspiratorial, and it's almost crazy to say this wasn't built by humans. Or if they were humans, they were like the smartest humans that ever were, and they're like a lot smarter back then, and they had better technology back then than they have today, and somehow they all disappeared. They didn't survive, and all the dumb ones survived. So something's, this is like a flat out slam dunk. So if you actually want to get into a little more conspiracy things, this might be something that I think is legit. Now, as far as like reading every damn thing into it, I think it's not going to get you anywhere. But it is legit that I would say that the pyramid was not built by humans. It wasn't built by the Egyptians. Well, Egyptians like to think they did it. This was built by somebody who's a hell of a lot smarter than regular people. Quite obvious, because the facts scream that. The coffer was sewn out of a solid block of granite. This would have required bronze saws of 8 to 9 feet long with steel teeth of sapphires, right? Hollowing out the interior would require tubular drills of the same material applied with tremendous vertical force. I know there's a lot of theories on this. I know the aliens and the lasers and all this other garbage. I don't know. But let me put it this way. It's crazy to think that some ancient Egyptians made this thing with crude tools in their spare time, you know, while they had to grow crops and all this type of stuff, you know. And all of a sudden, nobody knows how they did this. Now, I know there's a lot of theories out there about pyramids and, you know, the numerology and these the cult elite group that owns the earth and all this stuff. I don't know. I mean, there could be, what I would say is, in reality, if you want to put some type of reality to some things, they're just regular people. And that's what I would say. If there's any kind of secret conspiratorial elite group out that's into this pyramid stuff and all these numbers, I think it's more of an ego trip thing, you know? It's not like they got no connection to whoever hell built this thing. I know this thing probably, it's a slam dunk, it couldn't have been built by humans, but I'll guarantee you, the clowns out there today with all these numbers, with this pyramid stuff, they're out, you know, even if they're using things with numerology, they're a bunch of nuts, okay? That's what I'm going to tell you flat out. There's no connection with whoever built this damn thing at all. None whatsoever. It was also reported that when the pyramid was first broken into, the swivel door weighed some 20 tons. It was so well balanced that it could be opened by pushing from the inside with minimal force, but when closed, was so perfect to fit, it could scarcely be detected. There was not enough a crack or crevices around the edge, even to gain a grasp from the outside. So, you know, ancient Egyptians didn't build this thing, and that's a slam dunk. But some of the other theories that people get into are wacky, and I think, you know, there might be some powerful elite that are into this stuff. You know, they probably take it extremely serious. I'll bet you they have nothing to do with anybody who built this thing. I think it's all an ego trip. And it's just like, if you've seen these pyramids around, they're all over the earth. You know, there's a pyramid of the sun, there's a pyramid of the moon, there's the one in Giza. And, you know, I'm going to say people didn't build them. I don't know who the hell built them, but it wasn't regular people. You got people that are on the earth, and, you know, some more ambitious character comes along and says, oh yeah, that was built by the sun god, and he told me I'm supposed to take care of it. Now all you people are supposed to bow down and worship me. So immediately that guy's got a scam going. It's almost like, you know, when you walk into a bank downtown, you know, your money's safe because it's got polished marble columns, polished marble walls, floors, and you got a guy out there with a gun, you know, looking mean, and he's sitting out there in the lobby and he's protecting all the electronic money that's sitting in the computers, right? So I mean, it's the same type of deal. Somebody came along later and started playing a game with you know, they threw the religion game right out there, you know, with the pyramid of the sun and its sacrifices. So you got a scammer basically that comes along and plays this up. And there's a hell of a lot of, I'm going to post this link if somebody wants to get in all this crap, because I really don't get into all this too much. But, you know, I had to acknowledge that there is something weird with this stuff, because people could not have built it. And like, for instance, you say the Great Pyramid's height is 481 feet, I think that is, and it's 1/1000th of the distance from the Earth to the Sun. It sits right in the exact center of the Earth, you know, as far as the land mass of the Earth is. And also another thing that piqued my interest was, being in construction, that if a house is within square by a couple inches, it's like extremely good. And this gigantic pyramid is within a half inch, and you can't measure that with normal instruments. And also the sink rate, where it goes into the ground over periods of time. His sink rate is ridiculously low. It's far better than any modern skyscraper. Plus the technology on the cornerstones, the way it was built, they can handle heat and expansion from the sun and that type of stuff without falling apart. So this thing was so well thought out, and that's the reason it's still around. So if you're looking at, you know, these 7 wonders of the world, I'd actually kind of wonder who built some of this stuff too, because it's some of this stuff is pretty far out there. But the Colossus at Rhodes, for instance, but that you would think is within the scope of human power or regular people. But the Great Pyramid of Giza, and if you take the two pyramids on each side of it in the Great Pyramid of Giza, if you go back 13,000 or 13,500 years, it lines up with the constellation of Orion. So, some of this stuff, you could say is pretty crazy stuff that could be legit. But I personally think that a lot of this, I don't know, there might be some people out there that are into this numerology and that are very powerful. But I think they actually have no connection with the people that, or whatever it is that built these pyramids. It could be if you use a little common sense, not to get into any kind of crazy theories, but if you looked at the entire universe and and you look at the galaxy and the constellation and you look at the ridiculous mass volume of everything, there could be something else out there besides people, But because I would assume people did not build this thing, but I assume that it's just people that are playing the games right now, and not to dig into all kinds of conspiracy theories, but as a point of interest, if you dig into some of these things about the pyramids, if you'll look at archaeologists that are trained professionals that went to school and all this type of stuff for so many years, been out in the field, been in the profession for so long, go out in the circuits and talk and everything. They'll tell you the Egyptians built it by rolling around stones on logs. And not that I'm a conspiracy person, but flat out the pyramids weren't built that way. So I want to also take that same type of thought and apply that to markets and other things, because you'd be smart to use a little common sense and not get caught up in the stupid emotions, theories, and all this other stuff. Like this thing, for instance, the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, flat out slam dunk, it wasn't built by humans. Or if they were humans, they were the smartest humans that ever existed, and somehow or another all that knowledge got lost. And another interesting fact is that there's no hieroglyphics inside the pyramid, where there's hieroglyphics everywhere else in Egypt. You would think they would have a message of some kind of story about how that thing came about. So, but this is something that comes up sometimes in some of the crazier stories out there. But I think the truth is, it lies in the middle. It kind of is a blockbuster if every single person realized that the Great Pyramid could not have been built by humans, or if they were built by humans, they were the smartest humans that ever existed. And the other side of the coin would be, if you get into the crazy theories, well, I don't even get into any of that stuff, but the mainstream theory is that it was built by ancient Egyptians, rolling stones around on logs. They were able to get things within 1,000th or 100th of an inch precision. And there's many calculations that can be made from the Great Pyramid, the passageways and things that correspond to many things. I don't want to insult any Egyptians by this, but quite obviously, no Egyptians built this thing. This thing was built by, I don't know what the heck, but it exists, and that's the one thing. It's there. It's there. It's there. It's not a fake. It's not a theory. That structure exists. It can be measured, and you just make your own deductions. And I think that type of thought, but and all the experts will tell you, oh, that was built by Egyptians, right? And they rolled stuff around on logs. That theory's wrong, for one, and you can think for yourself. So I think that's one good way to think. Not to get too far out there, Just go by the hardcore facts. You know, something smells like BS, it probably is BS, right? And just like the story, you know, with the comparison with the bank, you got the polished marble on the columns. You know, downtown you got a nice bank. You know, it's the ceiling is way the heck up there. You know, you got all this, you got trees growing inside the bank. You got guards everywhere. You know, polished mirrors and all this type of stuff. It's all the guys. It makes you think your money's safe, and that's one reason your real money that's the safest is the precious metals, and it is the physical precious metals. So I do want to drive home that point too, and you know, I do believe in that. But you could probably make a couple bucks the other way too. There's a couple other ways to make money, but I'm gonna post a link on this. But there's a lot of junk in this. You can go into it for like longer than it's worth. But it's a slam dunk. The Great Pyramid was not built by some ancient Egyptians. That's a fact.